In this video, I will be going over the unit mix tab of the MSA Analyzer. The unit mix tab is a very detailed tab that shows you a breakdown of all the units based on the data from the rent roll tab, as well as some data from the renovations tab. So let's go through the different sections. At the top of the unit mix tab is the property summary information as well as your analysis summary. It shows you the name of the property, the number of units, as well as the year the property was built. And this is based on information that was inputted in the property description section, as well as some information from rent roll tab, such as the number of units. It also shows you a summary of your ongoing analysis. As you make changes to your analysis and your data, your pro forma, these numbers will change. That is the purchase price, the sale price. This purchase price is based on the data from the summary tab, which is the purchase price or the price you're willing to offer for the property. And the sale price comes from the final sale price that you expect to sell that property upon exit. But as mentioned, as you go through your underwriting and the different tabs and make changes to your pro forma analysis, these numbers or these high level numbers at the top will change. So it's good to look through these summary data as you're doing your analysis to see where your property is currently penciling at. The pref waterfall is based on the waterfall selected from this partnership level table. So based on that selection, for example, if I change this to the IRR waterfall, and we go back to our unit mix tab, you can see now it's showing the returns, this IRR return, cash on cash, equity multiple, average annual return for that IRR waterfall that we selected. All the information shown here also shows the closing date, the whole period, the year one DSCR, if you're taking leverage on this property, the year one debt yield, the total equity raised, so that's the amount that you need to raise from your investors, as well as the total loan proceeds. The next section of the unit mix tab is just like a unit breakdown information of all the different unit types within the property. This section, the data comes from both the rent roll as well as the renovation tab. To the left, you have information from the rent roll, which is directly from this rent roll data from this table. So it shows you all the information on the rent roll, the different unit types, the size of the unit, the number of units, the percentage mix for that particular unit type, the occupied units, percent occupancy for each of those unit types, the number of vacant units, the percent vacancy per unit type, the effective rents per square footage, the market rent based on the data from the rent roll. And then you have this option, which is again, the text is in light blue. That means it defaults with a formula, but the user can still edit the data within that cell. And the reason is sometimes when you receive a rent roll data from a broker, it has on there the market rent, but when you do your rent comps, do your analysis, your market survey, notice that the market rent on the rent roll is not actually the true market rent. So you do have that option to make that edit on here, because the information in the market rent directly affects the first line in your pro forma, which is your gross potential income. So if you're doing your analysis on a market rent which does not align with the current market, then the first line of your analysis already has an error. So you want to make sure that the market rent that you're using to do your analysis aligns with the current market data and the rent survey or any communication that you've had with your property manager. Also, it calculates the loss to lease for each of those unit types. The right section of this apartment units breakdown is the stabilized rent, and this is information that comes from the renovation tab. If you plan on doing any renovations to any of the units, the analyzer will be able to use the number of units that are being renovated, the current rent for those units, the premium rent once the renovation has been completed, and calculate a stabilized rent for that particular unit type. That information then flows into your unit mix tab, because then you can kind of come back here at the end of your analysis to see where your property is currently being rented for the different unit types, as well as what that stabilized rent is going to be, as well as the renovation premiums for each of those unit types based on your renovation strategy that you model in the renovation tab. Right below that unit mix table, we have another table that shows a summary of some of the high level metrics, such as the number of units, the average square footage. If you remember from the summary tab video, we talked about some of this data being outputs, like the number of units, the net rentable square footage, the average unit size, current occupancy. All of this data comes from this unit mix tab, comes from this section. So there's some high level items where you can see the property is 95% occupied. There's 5% vacancy, the market rents per square foot basis, the number of units that you plan on renovate. So this is your renovation data from the renovation tab, the average premium that you plan to get from conducting any renovations on any of the unit type, as well as the stabilized rents per square foot. So this is post renovation. The last part of this table shows you the effective rental revenue. So this is based on the rents that are being charged at that property. So this is the effective rent. The current market gross potential income. This is based on this tab. If you notice from the unit mix breakdown table, you have two columns for market rents. This market rent is what's from the rent roll directly. And when you first come into the unit mix tab, that data is copied over to this tab as well. But you can make changes to this tab based on your analysis of the market, as well as feedback from the property manager to represent the true market rents for each of those different unit types. So the information from this tab, that's what's used to determine your gross potential income. Because when we go into the pro forma analysis in the pro forma tab, that data comes directly from this unit mix tab, and that information is based on any user adjusted market rent data for each of those unit types. To the right, we have a visual breakdown of the different unit types at a property based on the unit type name, as well as the percentage compared to the total number of units at a property, and the different unit types and the current effective rents for those that like to see have a more visual representation of what's going on with the rent roll. At the bottom of the apartment unit breakdown or the unit mix breakdown, in this area, if you're doing for the rental comp analysis, you can do your rental comp analysis here. It's broken up by studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. So if you have a series of different properties up to about 15 comps, you can compare the rents for the studios compared to your property. So this is your property. So you can use what the different properties are currently charging, for example, for the 1 bedrooms, and how does that compare to your property. So you can do your rental comp analysis in this section. And the last section is your sales comparable analysis, where you can look at the recently sold properties in that area to see how they compare and where the broker is currently asking for this property they're getting ready to sell. And that wraps up the video on the unit mix tab. If you have any question regarding the unit mix tab or any tab within the MSA Analyzer, please visit us or send us a question at our website, www.msanalytica.com.